mistakes. Always look back and see what you could have done better, what you were planning on doing, and what succeeded, what worked, and what didn't. Always look back at your games, review, and learn. The secret to chess is not moving, by the way. That is one of the little known secrets. Not moving, more thinking. See everything about your possible destination before you move.
It's really all about your diet. You know, you are what you study. And if you study great players, you play great chess.
If they're attacking your rooks, threaten a queen. If they're attacking your queen, threaten checkmate and pawn. And in all cases, you can counterattack with check as an in-between move. Counterattack, the #1 tool, recommended by grandmasters.
Regularly playing blitz with Hikaru Nakamura, or regularly playing blitz with someone who literally shows you glaringly what you're doing wrong like that. There is no substitute for the old-fashioned, just getting slapped across the face when you make the mistake. Just no substitute.
A certain comfort zone soar toward playing correctly, grabbing space, an equal amount of space, having equal chances to win, not letting yourself fall behind in any manner, way, shape, or form by gambiting a pawn unsoundly, like in the Stafford Gambit, but simply playing good chess. The problem is that right now, I believe that Ron is the better player, and nothing's going to change that. The only person that can change that is right here. If you want.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, grasshoppers. Good morning, Frederick. How are you? Looks like it's just you and me at the moment. Let's pull this down just a wee bit. I think we're done with F4 for the most part, but this could be the last day for F4. And assuming that my opponent does not take matters so seriously, you should have taken my free pawn, sir. I did blunder it. That much is true. I'm just going to keep on developing. You haven't committed your dark square bishop, so I cannot take. I don't really want to ease your troubles as far as the dark square bishop goes. You have to solve this problem yourself. So not taking is an option. If the bishop were on g7, I would have taken at least once. But since we are here, and since that square is now a little bit under control, 1, 2, 3, where are you headed? 1, 2, 3, where are you headed? There. This does look fascinating. And we are going to open up the F files. And now, I definitely need this one to be on task. Good morning, sir. Hopefully the sound and everything looks okay. Microphone check, check, check. All good. And now for something completely indifferent as we march forward here. This one doesn't look so well protected. We're going to give back the pawn, hopefully in circumstances that favor our invasion on the white squares. Because I come from the land of plenty. Yes, that is to be expected. I don't know if that's worth it, to be honest. I am not entirely positive that that is worth it. It is true that some things could be arranged. We will see. There are ways of making you talk, Mr. Bond. 1, 2. We have to keep you from getting too comfortable in this position, right? We have another one here, another one there. Alrighty. And now for something completely indifferent. Takes. Bishop. I'm just going to pretend as though this is a normal day at the office. An absolutely normal day at the office. We're going to see what can happen. The lion is quite good for me. I don't know that I stopped it. I'm always curious. The black lion is such a relatively new concept that I think that you gave up on the lion for some reason. Or the move order was wrong. You and I may or may not have to talk about this. Whether or not there actually was a lion, or if any lions were actually hurt in the processing. And now for something completely indifferent. How do we get all of our pieces out? That is the question. Your takes, their takes, everywhere it takes. Let's keep our bishop because it's holding our fort together. We'll keep the indiscriminate use of force on that square. And now, moment of truth. He's got this square, that square, and the other square. Is he threatening me at all? He's threatening perhaps this, that, and the other thing. Do I give up my knight, or do I not? Told me once, but I forgot. Because I come from the land of plenty. So I have to recapture with a pawn. Possibly. Or I just give my king some air now. Or I pretend as though this is not happening. It is possible that Friedrich got me here with this rook. And I am down a bishop and a rook, and he's down only one rook. So let us see if I have enough in this particular instance to give back. So he has to choose. So I am hoping to give up one of these two pieces for free because that rook on h8 is not getting into the game. Simple explanation there. Uh-oh. You got frisky, sir. Did you get frisky? I don't have a choice, do I? What is going on? If I play, and you capture, and I capture, this knight is pinned. I don't have much of a choice. I really don't have much of a choice. I must unravel. Because I come from the land of plenty. Oh. Mm-hmm. Those two pawns are keeping all of his stuff at bay. He has two critical, actually, I think he only has one critical moment to choose in this position. And it is that one. Really? You're going in that direction, eh? So this means that I could go where I want to go. I guess I will. I guess I will. I guess I might. Because we have the d4 square, we have this knight, we have this bishop threatening to protect. Threatening to remove a defender now. So much of this is now guarded. That's guarded, this is guarded, that's guarded. And the threat is all right, and the threat is this a threat? It does look like a threat. Smells like a threat. Could be a threat. Because I come from the land of plenty. Queen, rook, knight. Should I give him a really optimal chance to just crush the daylights out of me? I think I should. Ideally, I should. I'm afraid that he only has 6 seconds and he's not going to move, so I need to make sure that he has a move. He doesn't have a queen move at the moment. Doesn't have a rook move. But I promised I would get this rook into the game. And my threat was e7 check. King takes. And then what? Let's see where all of this went wrong. This went terribly, terribly wrong for everybody. This went terribly, terribly wrong. So, Frederick, help me with this black lion. It's such a randomly new opening name, and I'm not entirely sure what the exact concept is. I believe bishop e7 is normal, right? But what are we concerned about here that we're playing h6? So to me, c6, bishop e7, and I'm not a huge fan of e takes d4, because to me, if you play e takes d4, you're just going into a fillure. So the black lion should remain at rest. And when I was in Catholic school, this was supposed to resemble a cathedral. The cathedral led to the main body of the church rising up in the front like the head of a lion. And this is, in theory, the cathedral defense. The Black Cathedral, perhaps. Very religious opening. So h6 doesn't completely seem to be so good, but e takes d4 seems equal. Looks like you're doing great. I don't like these defenses where you are supremely passive. It doesn't seem to make sense. Not entirely. So therefore, after h6, and then I castle. I mean, it's a simplistic way of trying to get your pieces out quickly and affordably. However, yeah, I know, right? But I believe that you could do the same thing with the Caro-Kann, or I guess because I'm playing the bird, you're trying to play something that is universal. So that makes sense. Certainly going to get it against everything. But you had a huge advantage on the fourth move when I played d4. You should just take my pawn. I actually stopped your black lion on move 3 because now you're winning. And I have had many students and opponents in the past avoid a clear advantage, if not a winning advantage in the opening, because they want to transpose back to what they know. I believe I've had a story on this. A meme, if you like. So here, bishop c4 and g5 has to be played in order to get that rook out, right? g5 should be played. Queen f6 could be played. But if queen f6, I'm going to play e5 anyway. Right? If queen f6, aren't I just going to play e5? Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and you can't recapture. And while you're considering trying to get all of your pieces out, this check, that check. So many checks in this position. If king takes f7, knight takes h8 check. It's craziness. If king takes f7, you gods. All right, so what happens here after bishop e7, f takes e5, d takes e5, and I blundered for the win. Believe it or not, I feel like I blundered for the win with d takes e5. This is all part of the black lion experience. e6. Oh, yes, so do I. System openings are the best. So rather than bishop c5, you should just recapture and see what I've got. Keep that in reserve. I don't necessarily know what I was going to do here. I was torn between queen e2, knight d4, but I was going to get pinned. I really was thinking about knight to d4. If you move this knight, I get to play check. But I don't seem to have anything here. I mainly wanted to keep you from finishing your opening development. That's really what I wanted to do. So I considered knight h4 as well. Knight h4 is just preventing castler and trying to insert queen takes g4. Anything to unleash this. In any event, knight f2 check was really, really awkward because now you've given away one of your two very active pieces that did have a threat that was tying down my rook. And I should just take back, ideally, the knight would just be better because I have two pieces for a rook, but no, I have to go for more. This has another form of a clear advantage. Knight c3. I like knight c3. But bishop c4 and knight c3 should be played again. I'm not sure why I played the move e5. That was just too trappy. Too trappy. Knight c3 is perfectly reasonable, right? Threatening to go knight d5. Move the defender of d8. On knight c5, if knight b6, I just continue on my merry way. Knight d5, queen d5. Keeping black from developing. Trying to get my stuff into the center. Bothering my opponent to no end. Oops. I like the new delete from here analysis feature. That's good. That is huge. Queen takes e4, then what? There's absolutely nothing going on, is there? Bishop d2 strikes me much better, much more active, threatening rook to f1, bishop to b4 check. Definitely bishop to b4 check is being threatened. c5. Is it just winning? If I had another move, right? Bishop to b4 check, c5, queen takes c5. Or once they want me to throw in rook to e1 now. I wanted to play rook to e1 at the end when it is made, if possible. So I wanted to actually play queen takes c5 for dramatic effect. And then play rook e1 for rook e8 mate. It's almost impossible to stop this. Bishop e6, bishop e7. King f7, knight e8. Knight over. Knight takes. All ugly. All right, let's resume our regularly scheduled event. We made this. Is it sharp? Namaste, Ron. Namaste. Let's see where we are on the friends front. I want to return to normality here soon, but we are going to play. Let's get some Alakine in. Or some Vienna games in. I actually love the e4, e5 Vienna game option. So he's going for the Belgrade Gambit, perhaps? No, he's going for, I have not yet decided what to do with my life. Italian. I have not yet decided what to do with my life, Italian. Uh-oh, this is not good. This is definitely not good. There's a relatively famous trap in this position if I do not play d5, by the way. If I do not play d5, it's a relatively famous trap. Let's keep those knights moving. Let's keep those knights moving. You know what white could really use right about now is a white squared bishop. White could really use a white squared bishop right about now. Ah, yes. They sacrificed it. It is interesting, folks. It is interesting. Interesting. I don't know where that one is going. I think that one still has to go back, right? Oh my gosh. The plethora of choices in this position. Mm. I'm trying to keep that knight at bay. At bay. Keeping that knight at bay. 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 Bump, 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 bump. So let's just assess what's going on for the home crowd. We have 3 minor pieces to 3 minor pieces, 2 rooks, 2 rooks. I mean, 2 rooks to 2 rooks, and queen versus queen. My opponent is asking for yet another center pawn. I'm not going to give it to him. But where is that dark squared bishop really going to go? Does anybody really know what time it is? Let's just put all of our pieces on better squares. We'll work out the rest later. Mm. 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 I feel like it's time for some relocation. I'm giving you relocation just during my excitation. Well, just in case. Oh no, I gave him a square. I gave him a square. I've given him a pawn too. Yes, yes. So now I cannot play a4 because I'm mated. That is very tragic. And I don't want to play queen takes e4 because his knight gets a square. But I do think that it's time to sacrifice a pawn. It might be time to sacrifice a pawn and see just what we get from him. See what we get. Bum, ba-da-da-da, bum, bum. Bum, 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 ba-bum, bum, ba-da-da-da, bum, bum. So you're attacking me, I'm attacking you. So if I play A4, bishop takes E7. Well, that's a bummer. We're going to pretend as though none of this is happening. How about that? We're just going to pretend like none of this ever happened, and that we're going to just keep on moving to better and better squares. How about that? Better and better and better squares. Just keep on moving. Just keep on improving. A good friend of mine seems to be back in New York, Grandmaster Nick the Fermian. Very, very happy to see that he's here. It is a very cool, what is going on here? What is going on here? I feel like I need to get my pieces to better squares. Just to keep him from possibly castling. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. All right, enough of the Dvorak's New World Symphony. Do we play H4 and continue on our merry way? Or do I just unite my rooks? Or do I play bishop to D5? Bishop D5 will force maybe the exchange of stuff. Let's see what happens here. As we walk our king up to G6. Just to make sure that we have it right. Just going to walk up to G6 just now. Wow, his rook is out of the fight. And now he sentenced his bishop to oblivion. But we can see. All right. I will take that one. I will take that one and I will raise it. So I need to continue attacking on multiple fronts. So we might take this opportunity to double our rooks. We might. We just might take this opportunity to double our rooks. So this bishop on H4 does have a square. I have not completely discounted the bishop on H4. But that means that things will be clarified rather quickly. All right. Moment of truth. Let's just threaten that. And we'll continue building. We will continue building the building blocks. Promised myself that I would capture this and that, but if it is possible that he has something here, whoever knew what. Feel like that knight on that square should be a spectator. So, G1, rook takes F3. Moment of truth here, folks. Rook takes F3. Rook takes F3, rook takes F3, pawn takes F3, king takes F3. My bishop on at B6 seems to be a spectator now. I'm not entirely pleased about this. So if I play bishop C5 right now. All right, it's time to get off the pot. Time to get off the pot. Rook takes F3. I need more open lines, folks. More open lines. More open lines. What in the world have you done? Oh, I don't have a square for my thingamajiggy? That is interesting. If I don't have a square for my thingamajiggy, can we? Can we bother him in a way that bothers more people? Uh, interesting. Really? You do have that. That much is true. Oh, you do have that there. That is a boomer. That is a boomer. Yes, he's got me. I went from a winning game to a losing game. A losing end game. In time trouble. Managing it in time trouble. Nicely done, Ariel Zamora. He's catching up. Namaste, Ron Hay. The legend. One of the legends. I didn't see it come up. Oh, it is with an S. Good. All right, Fulberg. Let's see if we can get something on the mix here. Has he looked it up? This is a Philidor as far as I'm concerned. And now it is this. I have to get out of here now. Wait for the tension to resolve it. Queen e1, queen g3. I know nothing about this opening. Still. All exchanges are bad for you, as announced, unless you know why they are good for you. We'll migrate to that side of the board just in case. Just in case, Justin. Most of the time, the names are what appeal to us most about the opening, not whether or not it suits us. All right, moment of truth. Where are you headed? What does it all mean? Namaste, Ron. Namaste. I'm not entirely sure about this. Something seems awry here. We played the tug of war game long enough. Long enough. Basically, a massive game of tug of war has ensued. And in this game of tug of war, I have to remember that I berserked. We're down to the last 8 minutes of the Mark Taimanov Rapid Arena, and maybe, just maybe, we will do a book on this. All right, I don't know where we're going from here, but there is more where that came from. My queen is no longer on the h5 d1 diagonal, but it does mean that more can come our way differently. Yes, yes. Knight e4 was probably a better move, but I couldn't resist the weakness of that one particular square and how he plans on defending it. Yes, that is the square. Because my bishop is in the game, and you have that one as well, he does have a check. I do have to move my king. All of the squares are still hanging. I'm still hanging. After all this time, speaking like a true survivor. Looks like it's checkmate in 2. Yes, we're still standing. I mean, admittedly, if he had queenside pieces in the game, I was up by a piece. Not by much, but I might have been up by a piece and a queen. The queen on c7 almost made it into the game. So the drawback with these games that are not open games, and I had this discussion with a parent yesterday. In the open game, you learn how to place your pieces to the best of your ability. In the open games, you learn the right squares and the proper activity level for your pieces, especially when you get into those romantic game type systems like the Vienna games and the Bishop's Opening and the Goring Gambits and the Danish Gambits and things like that. You really do get a good feel for open game activity and piece placement. But if you start playing openings like the French or closed openings, you are only limiting your development. So where are we? There we are. I didn't look to see if we are done with our F4s yet, but I said today would be the last day for F4. And I somewhat meant it. So against the advanced variation, it seems like Ariel Zamora is a proponent I don't know if you're still learning the lion. Yes, it is true that you are still learning the lion, but you're also still learning chess. You are learning chess. Not sure why this happened. Why would he move so many pieces so many times to so many squares? Oh, I see. Fine. We are still learning how to play chess. That much is true. Let's not bother his queen unless we really think we have to. How about that? Let us not bother his queen unless we really think that we have to. We have 2 minutes to make our mark on this position. And then we will know what is going on here. Only then. So Ariel Zamora is in first place by 1 full point. He could be surpassed by Pillsbury, but it looks like the top 3 are locked. Unless Nefedov has berserked against anyone. This is where we get to hover and see. But Pillsbury is playing Ron Hay. Ariel Zamora is playing me. I don't get to see who I'm playing. Nefedov is no longer playing. So we're just going to keep bothering him after all this time. We're looking like a true survivor. Feeling like a little kid. And now for something completely indifferent. We need more rooks in the game, right? Can I play it that way? I don't know. Indeed, if it's all about winning the tournament, but everyone should know that I am just fodder for the field because I should not count. He has already won the tournament. It's really between he and Pillsbury. Pillsbury can only gain 2 points. Earl Zamora had beaten me before, but I am determined to get it back, as his knight has nowhere to go. His rooks have nowhere to go. I do plan on a little bit of a discovery mate, if he wishes to see it. Check, check. Maybe this isn't such a good idea, but I don't want him to think that he's getting an easy time of it. Is it mate? It is still mate, right? Maybe it's not. Maybe I blundered. Maybe, just maybe, I blundered. Did I blunder? That is the question. Oh, bollocks. The question is, did I blunder? How does this happen, folks? How does this happen? He's got 1 check, 2 checks. Ah, that is true. He's looking like a true survivor. Feeling like a little kid. I can still slime him. I can still slime him. I was hoping for that. I needed my rook in the game. Right? I needed my rook in this game. We need a nice quiet move. That's what we need. We need a nice quiet move. That's what we're going for. A nice, quiet move. Well, he didn't find the best move, did he? Oof. For the record, my 64-47 still stands. My plus what? 17? Plus 13. Is that right? 67? No. It would be 67 would be 20, so plus 17. Plus 17 record still stands. Pillsbury has me quite a bit. Nicely done, Nethodov. Nicely done. Let's check out your game with Pillsbury. You only really got a chance to play one game. I'm sorry to see that. I am such a huge fan of this defense, this black. Oh, this brings back my childhood. Do you have any tomes on this opening? Where did you really learn it from? F5, I learned from Fisher. Ironically, I learned it from Fisher because of the main line and his novelty with, let's see if I can remember what it is. I believe that it was, oh no. Was it? I can't remember anything now. Hold on, let's just take a quick peek at the opening theory. So, it's knight c3 is the main line. This is still very good for white. Very interestingly good for white. F takes e4. Knight takes e4, d5, knight takes e5, d takes, knight takes, queen to g5. We have to guard the bishop, so queen e2. Also attacking e4, so knight f6. And it's right around this moment in time when I actually worked out with Grandmaster Joel Benjamin a winning opportunity with knight takes a7, bishop d7, knight d7, and then f4. Fischer's move is f4, by the way. So in this particular case, Fischer came up with f4, and it is by far the most popular move in the position. Previously, knight to e5 check, followed by bishop to c4 or d4. Should say d4 in this position. Was relatively equal and okay for black. So ultimately, Fischer came up with the move f4. And only now, after the move queen to h4 check g3, queen h3, the game is less risky. Oh, Junior Tay, move by move. There is a hole in the Junior Tay book that one of our students found, who's a candidate master in the high school, the state high school in Saratoga, the last year or the year before. I remember he prepared for the Sleeman, and it did not. Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear that. No green pills. No green pills if anyone gets the Netflix special. Yeah, absolutely. But you don't take the pawn, you play f4. But no, I'm trying to remember what the novelty was. Not that I'm willing to spell it, because it is Daniel Narrow's novelty. He won a very nice game. And then I also consulted with the Junior Tay book, which happened to be very close by at the bookstore. I have it here, but I didn't have it with me at the tournament. So therefore, I looked it up, and his continuation or his concept was not considered in the book. Was all I could say. And in fact, the continuation that was suggested by Junior Tay seemed like it could be a little bit more in trouble. I don't recall the line. All I say is that take everything with a grain of salt when you're studying openings, whether it's the Black Lion or the Schliemann defense. I just love this opening for Black. Yes, the Danish Gambit. It's amazing to me how much theory I do not play. Right? Isn't that amazing how much theory Rod and I know that we can never play? There's just not enough time in the world to play all of the theory that we have learned over the years just by studying the games of good players. But I will stick by knight takes a7 check myself, as I prepared it with Grandmaster Joel Benjamin. And now f4. Very cute, very clever, very kind. And everything is still hanging by a thread. This pawn is isolated. It is a permanent weakness. White has slightly better space, and if you ask me, exactly. One of the original lines was queen to c5. And it looks like we are getting a terrible pawn structure. The thing that I liked about this when I was looking at it with Grandmaster Joel Benjamin, the thing that I liked about it most was the fact that White had 2 pawn islands and Black had these 3 very odd pawn islands. So I felt like every endgame should be good for White. I also felt that the 2 pawns on the outside in the endgame should always perhaps be able to have the threat of creating a passed pawn past the b pawn. Unfortunately, it also means that we have to do something about the a pawn. So therefore, in this particular instance, after this, knight to b5 is somewhat forced. I don't necessarily know that this is all that great. I did not come up with the move d4 myself. I think Joel and I were looking at the move d3. And the pawn structure has equalized, unfortunately. There's just nothing going on here. Still feel the idea that this passed pawn could have been, would have been a factor, but for the unfortunate that this king is over. Well, one extra pawn. One extra pawn. The Danish Gambit. So who has played the knight takes a7 line? Peter Svidler, good. Bro. Jean-Marc de Grave. So what happened in this game? They went straight for the queen e2. Nizipiano was almost the FIDE world champion. Can you imagine? Liviu Dieter Nizipiano. I really wanted Nizipiano to become world champion, just to be the perfect example and role of the whole cycle, right? that crazy? It would show how strong FIDE's World Championship cycle was. So it doesn't look like Queen E2 is scoring very well, so we're going to have to go with perhaps an engine recommendation. Queen E2 and Bishop B4 check are equal. And now what? Bishop D6, really? Or castle's queenside? It's a tough call. This pawn is just so weak. Yes, he is. He's extremely crazy. I actually was rooting for him in that regard because I know that Ivanchuk missed his chance against Ponomarev. That would have justified the FIDE system a little bit. The fact that Ivanchuk did not win it, the stress, the shortness of the match, the shortness of the time controls, it was all like a gambling exhibition. It really was more like a gambling exhibition. It was like rolling dice, flipping coins, or, you know, playing craps in the corner to see who gets the World Championship chess title. That was what that whole World Cup thing is about. And the World Cup, to a certain extent, still is that way. So in this line, I believe it was the knight f6 line. Or was it Daniel Mero in... I can't remember. Not that if I could remember, I would give away his novelty. But it's all worthwhile. I want to thank everyone for being here in any case. I don't necessarily know that there are major events going on. Namaste. Thank you so much for the follow. Success 635 on Kick. Needless to say, on Kick. I'm debating on VIPs for the first 25 consistent subscribers. We got the OG badge for the first 25 followers, and the VIP badge should easily be for the first 25 subscribers on Kick. That's probably what I should offer. Though the UCO code is C63, Ron. C63. If we go down here, does it show it? Yep, C63. That is the ECO code. For those of you that don't know the ECO code system, it was originally an RED system. RED. That is, R was the rest of the openings other than E4 and D4. So you had E4 openings with codes, D4 opening with codes, and then you had the rest of the openings with codes. And that was the RED system that the chess informant had up until the 20s, perhaps the end of the 20th volume. I know in informant number 26, I was looking at a Garry Kasparov game versus Palatnik. The best game of informant number 26. You can see this game and all of the other best games of the chess informant with the best of the best 1,000 games since 1966. Basically, there are only about 100 best of the best games. Each best of the best game of the last first 100 informants, and then the 10 candidate best games. It's unfortunate. I think around the time they published that, they stopped publishing the candidate best games. It just only gave the best game of the informant. Too much controversy. So as it turns out, RED was not complex enough, so it went to A, which is all other openings, A. And you got the B and the C volume. C is still and remains e4, e-pawn replies, so the French and the open games. The B volume is e4, all the other replies, Sicilian, Caro-Kann, Scandinavian, Alekhine. So the C volume would be the French and the open games with e5, e4, e5. Then the D volume would complete the cycle of closed games with all openings with d4, d5, including the Grunfeld. Grunfeld ideas at the end of the volume of D. So D70 is the beginning of the Grunfeld. D69, if you like 69, D69 is the main line Queen's Gambit declined. And it has been usurped a little bit by D35 and I think D36 with the exchange variation, unfortunately. The longer or higher the number, the greater the main line. So at the end of the E volume, which would include all openings where black doesn't play D5, King's Indian, Nimzo Indian, the Ragosa would shift a little bit into the D volume. But you have the Budapest in the A volume, King's Indian, Nimzo Indian, Queen's Indian, and the Catalan. Is the Catalan in the E volume? I think it is. That is an anomaly, right? Is the Catalan in the E volume? Let's take a quick peek. I don't necessarily know how we would get there from here. But anyway, the ECO code is the Encyclopedia Chess Openings codes are really, really useful. We didn't see Nefedov's actual win, but let's take a look. Had I known that Pillsbury likes to play the D3 line against the Schliemann, I would play the Schliemann every day of the week. Black is already better. Knight to D5 is an absolute must consistently follow up on our line, by the way. And Queen E8, a little shifty. We should challenge this right away and try to put our queen on the F6 square, queen to G6 square, etc., and so on. Also putting pressure on F2. Queen E8, I know exactly where we want to go with this, but we're losing time, and our queen looks very awkwardly placed now. C3, that was a nice bonus. Now you know. Now you know, indeed. And I don't know that this has helped us much, but we are battening down the hatches. I think we could have played bishop e6 a little while ago. A6, bishop a4, and bishop e6. Yes, right about now. We could probably try to batten down the hatches a little bit. Play queen to d7, rook on a to e8. Try not to drive his bishop back to a good square. There wasn't a really great point behind b5. I know that the computer doesn't give it a question mark, but it's pretty obvious that you're putting the bishop on a better diagonal once it arrives here. We can already see that there are problems. And our queen should be on, would normally be on d8, except that we have discoveries on this. So we make a little bit of headway here as he really mishandles his position and allows your pieces to get to excellent squares. Excellent squares, and now he's at a complete loss as to what he's going to do with his knight. This is, he's losing material here. He struggles. I don't know if that was the right idea. I'm kind of tempted here. Looking over, obviously, I would probably have thought about this for a while. Obviously, the computer just says we can take right away. There's nothing to be done about this position. In any event, you went for it. You're getting even more out of it. Knight takes f1 versus rook takes f1. Simplify. Looks like it it should have transposed. Knight takes f1. The knight is trapped. But He does allow this. Further simplification. I also might have brought in the rook at this stage too. Personally, I like the idea of bringing the rook in. Unless you're expecting him to help you. Yeah, it's a rook versus a knight. We can't trade any material. We're not allowed to trade any material. Oh, this looks like there should be a crushing blow in here. Right? Doesn't it look like there could be a crushing blow in here? But there's nothing. 97 check. There's nothing. On to G6 even. The knight is hanging. He's trapped. Forced exchanges occur. Now it's all over. Nicely done. Nicely done, everyone. It was very cool. I do have time before the coffee and a new student occur. I'm looking at an Aussie chess noob. I'm not sure where we should go from here. We only have one viewer, so it's not like we need. Yes, I'm. All right, Ron. I look forward to seeing that. Obviously, if it's not available. I wouldn't call it an error. It's not an error. It's like an oversight. An error would be like a blunder or maybe even a deliberate type of mistake. But in reality, I would think of it more as, let's just say, an oversight in a particular variation. Let's say when he could suggest this instead of that, and then he just doesn't consider something. An error would be, if it were an error, it would be saying that something is one way when it's actually another way. And we know that is not the case. So, needless to say, I'm just going to pick someone right off the top that is hopefully doing chess or at least chatting. And if we don't have more than one raider, it's not happening. Nope. That's it. Namaste. Thank you so much for being here. Success 635. Thank you for the new follow. Cheers and ciao, everyone. Have a great day. Ron, hey, have a great day. Especially. Feel better, buddy. Feel better. Stay under the covers. Rest.